Hi everybody, how are you? My name is Apprentice Julie Alexandra. I'm the prefect that's part of the Winds Lodge, and today I'm going to be interviewing our wonderful Dean, Ambika Devi. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit about the meditation major that she just recently came out with. And so I'm going to be asking her some more in-depth questions about what this major entails, and basically just have an overview of the major itself and what distinguishes it from the psychic arts department itself. So I'm very happy to have her here, and I'm very excited to hear what she's going to say. So today my first question is going to be, what was the point in time that you decided to become an instructor at Grace School, and what was it that made you realize that you wanted to do this?
Well, thank you, Apprentice Julie Alexandra. We both have such long names. Let's just do the title and our first bit of our name. I think that's going to make it a whole lot easier. So I'll just call you Apprentice Julie, and you can call me Dean Ambika.
Okay,
does that work? Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. So how I became involved with Grace School was that I had a friend who told me I should start a school of wizardry. And I thought, where is this coming from? This was back in 2016. And I thought, wow, you know, I love teaching. I love writing curriculum. I love being involved in learning. The thing I definitely don't want to get involved in is administrative work. So I thought, wow, you know, great idea to my friend, but I don't think that's happening. After a few days, I started thinking, I wonder if there is a school of wizardry. So of course I went to ask Google, and I typed in school of wizardry, and boom, Grace School came up. And I thought, whoa, this actually exists. Well, I started reading the website, and I took my time over the course of a few days. And I came to realize that our headmaster, Oberon Zell Ravenheart, was actually somebody I knew about. When I was a kid, I used to read his magazine, Green Egg, and I never imagined being involved in a project with him. So I thought, okay, I'll keep looking at this website. Maybe there's something there that I could be involved in. And I found a place where you could apply to be an instructor. So I thought about it for a few more days, and then I wrote an email and said, okay, I'd like to inquire about becoming an instructor here. And I received an email right back, which I thought was pretty amazing. So I took a look at the application, and I took my time filling it out, and I sent it back, and it said, don't expect to hear from us for about 4 or 6 weeks. So I didn't think I would get a response for over a month. Well, 24 hours later, I was invited to apply to be an instructor. At first, what I thought I would do would be to teach and write astrology. I've been a divinator pretty much all my life. And so I took a look at the astrology program and pitched to the dean of curriculum to do this. That was the very first project I got involved with back then.
Great. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. So in your own words, how would you say that you feel like the psychic arts relates to the practice of wizardry itself?
I feel that wizards in society are expected or anticipated to be psychic, but that not all psychics are expected to be wizards. So let's look at how I view a wizard and then how I view a psychic person. How's that sound?
Okay, that sounds good.
So wizard to me is a wise person. They don't necessarily have to be an elder in society, but quite often they are. I happen to be, so that works. And I've always felt, because of my background and my Eastern training, that a lot of the expectations and ideas, the rules and the the axioms that we go by are all very similar, if not identical, to what it means to be a wizard. So it felt really, really comfortable. Now, people would ask me when I first got involved with the school, well, isn't a witch the feminine of wizard? And no, it's not. Wizards are not gender specific. And I also really liked that. I like the idea of wizard as knowledgeable and one who watches and listens before reacting and sharing. So that is a role I feel I'm constantly growing into and becoming more bonded with.
Okay, that makes sense, because you see the practice of being a wizard as sort of being wise, and so this kind of ties in with
I do, and
psychic work.
knowledgeable.
Yes.
Now with psychic work and being a wizard, well, you have been an apprentice of mine for a while now, and you have taken the core energy classes, which are required for everybody in the school. These ask a lot of you to really tune into yourself, to tune into your senses, and tune into the world around you, and be able to be involved with it and react with it, as well as being able to be a witness to it. This, to me, is what the psychic arts are all about. Now, this could be seen as more of an Eastern view, but in all reality, I really feel that the more aware we become psychically, the more we're able to separate so that we're not all involved with the mind chatter and the ego mind. This is where that differentiation between intuition and ego mind lie for me.
Okay, since you mentioned Eastern studies, what is your background with Eastern studies?
I was introduced to Far Eastern studies at the age of 6. So I began meditating when I was 6 years old. And it was begun by the Quakers. I went to a Quaker school, and we used to go and sit every Wednesday morning for an hour. Can you imagine a 6-year-old sitting still next to all their 6- and 7-year-old friends with the whole rest of the school there, but feeling calm and peaceful and quiet and being able to sustain this for an hour? Most people, when I tell them about that, think, wow, that sounds like magic right there. Yes, it is. But when everybody else is doing it and you're a little kid, it becomes second nature. It's the same thing trying to get a little kid to eat something healthy. If you kind of make it a little more mysterious to them and, hey, the big kids are doing it, or this is only for the adults, that makes a kid more hungry and curious about it. So I think that's how it was easy. Plus, after a very short time of having these midweek respites of quiet, it became something we craved. It was a regrouping, a rejuvenative time. Later, my mother took me to yoga class with her. And I can remember the very first time I was lying down in what's called Shavasana, which is translated to be the corpse pose. So lying on your back, completely relaxed, arms out to your sides, legs maybe spread just a little bit, just the whole body relaxed into the floor, into your yoga mat, and you begin to drift. It's almost like that yummy feeling when you wake up in the morning and you go back to sleep and you get into a dream. It's that feeling when you get into a really great dream. And I remember experiencing that very first time I went to that class with her, and I was instantly hooked. And I also registered yoga equals meditation, which I came to learn later is exactly what it's about. Now, here in the West, and well, also in the East now, yoga has been a brand name used for a small portion of what the yoga philosophy encompasses, which are the postures and the movement. But really, yoga equals meditation and whatever it takes to get you in there. To me, that is very similar to dreaming. And the dream realm, the meditation realm, These are unified for me. And this is where I perceive we tune into our psychic selves.
Okay, that's a good explanation because I can relate to what you're saying. In other words, when I've taken your classes, I've noticed how often I've been able to push myself into trance more consistently. So
Excellent.
I understand what you're saying when you're saying that the meditation itself takes you to that deeper space.
I feel that when we can get in touch with what meditation is, and we can get that knowing sensation of I'm there, because it is a state of being.
Yeah.
It's not a location that we get to like we would walk somewhere.
Yes.
It's a state of being. And when we can get a full bodily felt sensation of I'm there, kind of like when we're in a lucid dream, right? It's the
Yes.
same thing. It's the same stuff. So for me, it just makes sense with my background in meditation that this is the way I can teach others to tune into their psychic abilities.
Mm-hmm. And I remember the advice that you've given me throughout my classes, which is be and feel. Simply
Exactly.
exist.
Exactly.
That is
Exactly.
okay.
Well, there are two ways to go about living life. We can think and do, or we can be and feel. When we can move through life and handle think and do stuff from the be and feel part of ourselves, we are walking or moving or managing in the state of meditation. So to me, it's really not that different from saying psychic, although yes, there are other parts of the realm where psychic comes into play.
Okay. And so let's see. So overall, when it comes to the psychic arts department, what type of topics does this department tend to focus on and why?
Well, at the very beginning, we have the core energy practices. In these classes, which are core required classes for everybody in the school who's going through the apprenticeship program, and also for a prerequisite for anything in the psychic arts department. First, we're looking at centering and grounding and the senses, because without being in touch with the senses, how can we possibly understand what does grounding feel like or look like or sound like? How can I know where my center is or that I am centered? So for me, it just makes perfect sense that we all learn these skills, because this is going to make any other path of study that much more accessible and give us the tools we need to express what we're experiencing and also explain it to others.
Okay. I guess when I'm thinking about this, I know that psychic arts also tends to focus on practices like chakras, and basically what other topics does it go into?
Chakras are a part of it. Chakras are definitely from the Eastern philosophy. They have found their way into the West, and there are some morphed versions of what they're all about. I did write a class at the third level that is really giving the foundation of their origination.
Okay.
At the first level in psychic arts, we have a more westernized kind of version, which is a really easy way to get into the idea of chakras, especially if you've already come with preconceived ideas about it or you've read and learned things about them. Dreaming is a part of the psychic arts department. And also, there are a few classes that have to do with martial arts. Now, they come from the East also. So a lot of what's going on in the psychic arts department right now is indeed from the East, which made it a comfortable fit for me to take over and be a dean.
Okay. And so with the idea that a lot of the psychic arts department is sort of geared towards the East, how would it benefit the students to understand an Eastern perspective in a Western society?
That's a really good question. The way that the meditation classes are written is they're taking us through levels of relating to life in different ways. So again, at the core level, grounding, centering, the senses, being able to understand and communicate with the senses. Everybody comes to sensing with one or two that are stronger. Most people are strong visualizers, but not everybody. Some people really do hear things, and then others feel things. And these all relate to the 5 gross senses. And then, as you've learned from me, we have super sensing, which is an enlivened or more accentuated version of these gross senses. And then we have the psychic senses, which we don't have to be present in the space to feel or pick up or see or hear or taste or smell things. As we develop the ones that are stronger for us, we can then start to develop the others. And I do see this in my apprentices all the time, where more and more begin to blossom and they become more aware. It's about practicing. Dreaming also. Dreaming is a psychic realm, because really, where do you go when you dream? You disappear out of your body. You might think you have a body, you might see yourself, or you might see out of your perceived eyes. You might even become more than one being, or you might not even be there, and you might just be witnessing a scene. This is the same thing that can occur in the state of meditation. So for me, they're one and the same. They really are. So we've got dream work classes, and then sound. Sound is a very profound way to be in touch with the psychic realm. So there is actually a meditative drumming class, a sound class in the department as well.
Okay. Are you working on any projects associated with the psychic arts right now?
Well, I did just release the major.
Yes.
Which was a 2-year writing project.
Wow.
So after I had written the astrology, I was asked to take over this department. And as the dean of the department, I took on the core energy practices classes. I believe that it's important for me as dean to be teaching the core class, the required class for the department, because this way I know each and every apprentice is getting the best feedback and the most thorough feedback possible on the classes. I built the major in meditation sequentially. So one must take the core energy classes first, and then meditation 201 is about getting in touch with your own personal nature and also nature as we know it out on the earth. And then meditation 301 is where I start to talk about energy and how we can be in touch with energy, our own energy, and starting to harness it. It's about self-discovery. And then at the 4th level, that class is breath and mudra. Now, some people think mudra are just your hands. Mudra is actually your entire body. It's a posture. Can a hand position be a mudra? Yes. But is a mudra only a hand position? No. Hand positions are hastas. I do teach you some more advanced breathing techniques, building on the breathing techniques you've learned all along, because right from the beginning, I talk about breath. And then at the 5th level, I talk about sound and teach you about your own primordial sound. And then at the 6th level, I teach you about manifestation. And this is the class that finished the major path. Of course, you would do a practicum and develop your own after that for the 7th level. In this class, I teach you all sorts of secrets to The Secret, in case you've ever watched or read the book, The Secret, and the Law of Attraction. So I give you a lot of the missing links and the keys to what's going on there. And some of these do come from very ancient teachings. What I've done is collected the best of the best to teach to you as you go along this path of meditation. And really what it's teaching you to be is a wizard. I see this as great wizardly training because you are doing self-actualization. You are working with your body, your mind, and then in the sixth level, the world around you.
That's great. So I have a question as well. So what differentiates the meditation major from the psychic arts major?
The main difference is you've got to take all of the meditation classes that are from core energy practices through level 6. You have room to move within other departments to take other classes, and it's not really that different from the psychic arts major, just that you must take from that level 1 through level 6.
Okay. And from your own experience as an instructor, what courses in the psychic arts do you find that new students gravitate towards and why?
Well, they have to take the level 1
They're forced to
courses.
take-
So I kind of am guaranteed that I meet most apprentices. And those core classes are recommended even to magisters. I also recommend them to new instructors that come to join us from outside who haven't gone through our program, because this gives them a chance to get a clear understanding of the foundation. Also within the department, we do have a really cool Enneagram class that I would love to see some people sign up for. And at level 7, there's a really nice class that Dean Arakeen, who is the Dean of the Dark Arts Department, wrote. Sometimes we'll find that classes, even in one department to another, echo or have similar, even the same types of information, but always they're delivered differently, and it's always worth it to learn it in the new style. Whenever I have an apprentice that comes to me who comes with some past experience, I like to teach them to come into this new lesson with a beginner's mind. And one of my favorite ways to make that point is that even people in the New York City Ballet who are pros, they're getting paid to dance, they have to go to 3 beginner classes a week with the level 1 dancers and work on the rudiments. It's so important. So whenever we're being introduced to something that we think we already know, I highly recommend just tossing out the I think I know and giving it a rest, giving it time off, and approaching it from a beginner's mind. Also, another way you can do it is imagine you're gathering information to become a better teacher of it. That's always an easy way to get yourself to pay more attention and give it a stronger try.
Okay. My next question is, what is your background with meditation itself?
Well, as I said, I started when I was 6 years old, and it became comfort. I stayed in Quaker school all through 11th grade. I didn't leave until 12th grade when I went to a different school. So it became a weekly thing. And at one point, I even went to a boarding school, to a Quaker boarding school. So we sat for an hour on Wednesdays and 2 hours on Sundays. I became a pretty meditative kid. I easily would walk out, sit in nature, lean against a tree, and just be really grateful for the quiet. I did start yoga classes with my mom when I was young also, and by the time I was 10 years old, I was really into it, really craving it. I continued on the study on my own, going to classes with her until I was old enough to go on my own, and I became a yoga teacher for the first time at age 17. I later went on to study to be a yoga instructor in 5 different schools total. 2 of those were lineages that have ashrams. So I actually went to live in an ashram. At one point, I thought maybe I would continue on and become a monk. And then I decided no, I would come back to society. And I have a deep understanding that yoga is really equal to meditation, that the whole idea of the entire philosophy is to help us understand who we really are, which is pure energy. Now, we say this in language really easily and freely, but how many of you really experience this and can come back from that experience and tell me a story about it? You see, that's why I think meditation is so phenomenal, because we can get that sensation. And I have had situations where maybe I was teaching a workshop, an in-person workshop, where I was teaching an advanced sound technique. Remember, I teach you the sound techniques at the 5th level in the meditation major. I was teaching a sound technique to a friend who was really into singing as sound and that kind of launch into that state of being of meditation. And I taught him a technique that he didn't know. And he was so deep in meditation. I was making noise. I was banging a piece of metal right by his head, and he did not come out of it. So to be able to get into that depth of that state is phenomenal. And being able to witness another person in it, wow, that's mind-blowing.
If a student pursues the meditation major, what would the student ideally gain from this course of study?
Self-actualization, better health, happiness, the ability to make really good choices, and honor the fact when you're making a choice that you are making the choice. Understanding the difference between ego chatter and true intuition, which is great for divinators. I feel that the psychic arts in general, they really accelerate and amplify our experiences when doing a ritual and having a sense of knowing and knowing what a sense of knowing feels like in all of the senses. So each level takes you further and deeper at the same time.
With what is gained in the meditation major, how would this translate and be applicable to everyday life?
Wow. Happiness and health.
Okay.
A happier being, somebody. Look, why do people usually go to divinators? They have questions. So if we have tools so that we can answer our own questions, that makes us happier. And if we can make better choices from a sense of knowing, that makes us happier and healthier. I feel that it's an incredible tool. Whether people choose to use it or not is absolutely personal choice.
Okay. Let's see. So I do have another question, and basically, what do you see happening for the future of this department?
I know there are other approaches to psychic arts. And yes, when I came into the department and took it over as the dean, I come from the Far Eastern mystery schools. So of course, that's what I'm putting into it. I would love to welcome in other viewpoints and have people come in as scholars or synergists, writing courses and teaching them. So there's plenty of room for growth. This is a department that has lots of space for growth. And I look forward to receiving information from people who are interested in helping to grow the department.
Just to double check, Who are the other instructors right now in the psychic arts department?
Instructor Golden Eagle, who is quite active in dark arts, has a class entitled Meet the Indigo Children. So if you've ever been curious about being an indigo, or somebody told you you're an indigo, or you know you're an indigo, this could be an interesting class for you. It's at level 4. And then, as I said earlier, Dean Arakeen, who is the Dean of the Dark Arts Department, has a level 7 class called Opening the Unconscious Mind.
Okay. So, yeah, I think these are basically my questions. So I'm just going to end it here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here and be interviewed. Thank you so much, Apprentice Julie.
You're welcome. And I felt really excited to do this interview too, because I'll be honest with you, it is a little bit personal for me too, in the sense that, listen, I'm curious to know what was part of the meditation major aside from the psychic arts.
Well, do you feel like you've gotten it all answered, or do you have any further questions?
No, I think that completely answers it.
Okay, great. Well, everybody, you're more than welcome to ask me questions anytime. It's really easy to find me. And it's such a pleasure to be here with everybody and to be the Dean of the Psychic Arts Department and welcome you all in.
Okay, well, I guess this pretty much ends it. But I was really happy to do this and to hear the in-depth explanations. But I know also, as your student, what I could say is that I completely understand what you're saying, the difference between intellectually knowing and actually experiencing.
Yes, and I have seen you grow in that, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.